Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee here, as always. And what do we have this morning? Tea, moonshine, gin.
Invisible juice. There
The
we go.
invisible juice is
Invisible
back
juice.
for Mecca. I have some shady milk put in this coffee, so if I just suddenly start running out of the broadcast, you guys know what's going on. Mecca, not a lot of headlines to get to, but a few interesting ones this morning. Let's start with this one. Well, not with this one. Let's start with this one. Nunez rumors will probably end now as Mateus Nunez, not the one that saw the red card yesterday. Mateus Nunez is heading to Wolves because he is Portuguese. Where else would he go, right?
Yep.
I mean,
He's as we said, like when we talked about him last week, like not know a huge amount about him in detail. But that's probably a great signing for Wolves. Maybe an iffy signing for us in terms of whether you're going to get the end product you demand for a club like Liverpool, but for Wolves, that's probably a fantastic signing.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be one of those things where Alan is with us. Good morning, Alan. He is going to be evaluated every freaking game by Liverpool fans now too. Like anytime he does something good, especially if we didn't get the result we wanted that week, you're like, see if we got this guy. I mean, the fee is actually pretty high for a guy coming through. I was kind of like, shocked that Wolves actually forked out. I mean, it is a club record, obviously, but I was still like kind of like shocked about that. Speaking of the Nunez Reds cards, Joachim Anderson, I probably butchered the first name there, says he got 300 to 400 abusive messages on social media for the Reds card. And I mean, the whole abusive message thing is stupid by itself. And I don't understand, A, what does it achieve? B, I mean, what the hell are you even saying to the guy at this point? I don't even get any of these messages because they have to know that these guys don't necessarily read them. But I mean, what is there to abuse, I guess, for the dude? I mean, he got hit in the head. I mean, yeah, he made a meal of it, but that's what any player would do.
The thing about it is, though, as well, it's social media, especially in football, it's a global fan base. So it's 300 out of however many millions of people who probably had the same thought, but were grown up enough to not press enter or go on Twitter or log into Instagram. So it's sad that it happens, but it's morons. He even now looking at it, you just kind of think, as much as it was a Liverpool player that it happened to in terms of the adverse outcome, he was stupid. He was naive. He was properly done up like a kipper, as Michael Caine might say, done up like a kipper. He was walked over. Like he was naive and probably learned the best lesson he's going to learn this season in English football. That referees, number one, don't give you everything like they do in the continental leagues. So the referee is going to let them kick you until the referee decides that it's getting a bit much. And number two, you can't react because then you're off. You're done. It's going to be a really bad reaction.
That's a good point about the refereeing. I mean, now you're not the guy or one of the guys in your league. You're just a guy. So it's going to be, you're not going to get maybe some of the calls you were. I was talking about this on the podcast last night too. I guess my biggest concern would be, I hope, first of all, he learns from this because now this is going to be like every defender is going to know this, that, you can't kind of get under his skin. And if you kind of like keep going at it, you can kind of like get him flustered and stuff like that. And I mean, he's a young kid. Hopefully he will use this as a learning experience. It comes in at a really bad time for the team. So hopefully it will be even a bigger experience, knowing like he kind of like let the team down by doing something stupid, not only in mid game, But in a time where we have an injury crisis and he doesn't really have a lot of alternatives, he's going to be gone for what we assume is going to be 3 games. Sergio Gomez deal is now official. I think he was already like almost there. And the Ronaldo thing, it's weird because in this headline it says Manchester United could let striker leave in transfer window. And this is, let's see, this is the BBC headline that says that. And then you go to ESPN and the headline over there says United adamant Ronaldo will stay. So should he stay or should he go? He should probably go, but will he stay or will he go?
Well, I'll say this much. The Clash are definitely getting their royalties out of that song title now, finally, after all those 50 odd years. But I mean, he should go. If he's really smart, he'll change his position to fullback and City will buy him next week easily. Give him all the money he wants. Just tell everybody he's a left back now. But that's just the chaos of Manchester United, as we continually discussing. They really are in a dire straits of mismanagement. And you kind of almost feel sorry for Ten Hag because this should be resolved one way or the other before the first ball was even kicked this season. But if he doesn't go, that's going to hang over the team's head until the transfer window in January or wherever it is this year. Or if he does go and then results continue to drop, I'm sure United fans will go, but maybe if we still have Ronaldo, we might be winning a few of those games. Yeah. So Ten Hag is really up the creek without a paddle, as they say, one way or the other. But for Ronaldo, I mean, imagine being told that you can go wherever you want and then nobody picks you up. That must be devastating.
And is that basically because nobody wants that kind of a headache, or nobody wants those kind of wages?
Probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to pay that amount of money, you want pretty much a headache-free life from that player. But he's literally the kid with the ball who's complaining because he's not allowed to score all the goals or take all the penalties. So he's going to take his ball and he's going to go home. It's just that his ball is made of gold and is probably badly designed, like his statue was.
Yeah, I mean, that was some gem. I mean, the thing is, he probably knows now. I mean, that move was brutal for both sides involved. It's just not. Never should have come back. Should have gone somewhere else. And United kind of blew it. So for Ten Hag, you said you feel bad for him because he's not Brandon Rodgers. Do you
not bashing him today?
No, well, yeah, we'll see. The day is young, my friend. The day is young. So do you think when he says, because he's been kind of saying it since he came on, right? He's been saying that, Ronaldo is in my plans. I want Ronaldo to stay. We're kind of building it around him. I know why you're building something around somebody that old when you're starting like a cleanup project. But do you think he's honest with that, or deep down inside he's like, oh my God, just freaking go already?
I don't think he's being honest. I think when he first got the job, or when he was talking to the Man United board or whoever's in charge of hiring the coaches there, I'm sure he had it in his head that if he could get rid of Ronaldo, he could start again. Maybe one or two others. Pogba, I think, was probably already out the door at that point, so there was no.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any chance of him staying. Yeah, I think he was definitely out the door. Maybe one or two others, Lingard or whoever. And possibly De Gea. He probably had it in his head if he could get De Gea out the door as well, he could start fresh. Because he's from Ajax, and Ajax are huge with the youth development, with their academy. It's fantastic. Love that academy to bits. So you could almost see him being a perfect manager if the Glazers or whoever said, you know what, this is going to be year zero. We'll get rid of all the fluff that we have. We're going to get rid of all the fat on the wages and start with a young team, and we'll give you 5 years to build that up. And as long as we don't get relegated, we'll support you. And I think Ten Hag would be flying right now if that was the case. But that's not what happened. What happened is he's lumbered with Ronaldo. He's lumbered with players that don't want to be there, or they do want to be there. They just don't want to do any playing. And he's continually being connected with Arnautovic or Vardy now, which is the new rumor. Like
Yeah.
players that are past their prime that have no business being on a Ten Hag team for the way he wants to play. So I think he probably thought he was going in and he was going to get a little bit of free reign to start changing the team to the way he would see it, and that's not happened. And I think I could imagine him. I could see him walking out the door before Christmas if things go really, really south for them in the league.
I mean, that's the thing. I'm trying to think, let's say we get the job. God forbid. I don't know, God forbid for who, but either way, let's say we get the job. I would think you're better off coming in saying, hey, this is going to take at least 2 years, but this is how we got to start. I mean, especially during the interview process, he could have gone to other clubs. He would have hadn't gotten to Undertakers. He was kind of like the hot, manager in the market kind of thing, the hot young manager, blah, blah, blah. And you would think you would kind of start with, the goal, like build that spine, right? Goal. I mean, he got a center back that he exposed by taking him out at halftime and then putting Varane in, who looked good. Well, God knows they can't take Maguire out, so automatically looks like you just wasted 55 million because this guy is better right now. But you have a goalie that is more of like the old school goalie, more like a shot stopper, and he's not going to like build play from the back and stuff like that. You would think he would have started with those phases, just kind of like trying to hang on to it. I don't know if half of it is arrogance, thinking, oh, I can get more than half of these players going in the right direction. Because Rangnick said on the way out, I mean, even before he was on the way out, that they needed like a major overhaul. He was saying like 7 to 8 players and stuff like that. And obviously the board is going to be like, that's because you can't coach, kind of a deal, and bring this guy in. But then you would think he would know what Rangnick said and said, yeah, he's right. We need 7 to 8 players and gets the guys he wants, at least start getting the guys he wants, instead of spending 3 months waiting for the young who persistently does not want to come.
Well, I mean, going back even further, Mourinho said they needed to overhaul 7 to 8 players before that, like even before Solskjaer. Solskjaer was the good little boy. He wasn't going to say anything bad whatsoever because he didn't want to lose his job. But you would think that
he got the job, but
yeah, it's true. But you would think that he would go in with those ideas. But it kind of strikes me a tiny bit almost like the David Moyes situation, where he goes into the big club because he's a much desired manager. I don't see any clubs other than Manchester United at the time who were much desiring David Moyes. I'm pretty sure by the looks of his face that his wife doesn't much desire him either. Who fantasizes about going to bed with Gollum every night? But
put it in the comment section now if Moyes is in your dreams. Yeah,
not bashing David Moyes, but at it was almost like he was starstruck when he went there. Because he came from Ajax is a big club in history, but it's way smaller operation than Manchester United, way smaller. And so maybe he's sort of, he's come in and he's overwhelmed by the bigness of the whole thing, which is why you kind of need a Jose Mourinho, or you need a Louis van Gaal who's experienced that kind of big club mentality and how it runs, not the soccer stuff. The actual soccer stuff is quite easy. Like in general terms, soccer's the same. It's one ball. It's pretty much almost the same dimensions, more or less, give 10 yards or so. And it's the same laws of the game. And a 4-4-2 in one game or in one season is the same 4-4-2 as another season. There's nothing new under the soccer sun. But the background stuff, when you've gone from being the head honcho at Ajax to being just a cog in the machine, really, when it comes down to it, at Manchester United, is probably massively overwhelming to your ego. Kind of to go back to your point about, how arrogant he might have been coming in thinking he could change it. He's probably thought that I'll go in and change this, and then realized that there's too many pens to push in order to get all that kind of stuff done. There's too much politics to get through to get that stuff done. So in a way, it just reminds me of David Moyes. He just looks like He expected it to be an easy job, and it's not even in a little bit easy. And I wouldn't be confident that he could survive it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like Ajax is known for their youth system, how they constantly produce quality players, how they kind of give opportunities to young players. But here's the thing, that's a system. Those guys come up through the ranks, if you will, get the opportunity. They're smart enough to always add a couple of experienced guys around it, and they find the right guys to put around that youth, and they play like a coming up from the youth, they play the same style of football, so it kind of like helps those youngsters get up and stuff like that. And they're a destination over there too for young players or for players, and like it's the place to go to. Whereas now you come here, I mean, it's like the coaching the young players. I don't know if they were like, oh, he can't coach young players. I mean, it's not like he can coach young players because he has Snapchat too, and like they can talk about that stuff. It's more about the system that creates those young players. I don't know if like United thoughts, oh, he'll get the most out of younger guys like Sancho and stuff like that we could not before. But when the system is crap, and like you're saying, there's so much baggage in the background with the whole, the Maguire thing, the captain thing, Ronaldo thing. Like there's so much other drama for him to deal with before he can get to the, dealing with the football part of things, it looks like.
Well, I mean, the thing about, I was just thinking it there, like he has two problems. Number one, you can't take Ronaldo off the field because he's Ronaldo. He's one of the club's best players of all time and one of the best players in the world of all time. And he can't take Maguire off because his head doesn't fit through the tunnel. So they have to airlift him out of the stadium. It's just a rigmarole.
You're not bashing on Maguire.
Not bashing on Maguire. Or his square-shaped head. But the thing about it is like if you're Erik ten Hag, if Manchester United were stupid enough to hire me and say we want to build a youth team, the first thing I would have done was gone to the academy director and say, what way do your youth teams play? And that's how I would play the first team. Even if it went wildly against every tactical thought that I had, I would do that and then start bringing the young players up, the promising ones, because then they have a system.
What is the answer going to be? They're like, yeah, who knows?
We play a 4-3-2, 4-7-1. We get away with it though. We play bangers every week, but no, I mean, you kind of have to assume Manchester United's academy at least is running functionally because they always have. I don't know how it is now, but they always have. They've always produced maybe not the best players that chasing that golden generation of '92, but they've always brought through a couple of decent players, like Liverpool, like us. We have a good crop. We don't have a good team of players that we carried through, but we have brought through players individually who are of good standard. But that's what you would do because you can't change the whole thing and expect immediate success. But you might be better off changing the first team towards what the academy players do. At least when they're familiar with Ajax, they're familiar with the system. Then so left wing coming up from the trees knows what they're supposed to do now for the first team because they've done it all the way through the ages. But it's just too much of a mess. It's just one hand is definitely not washing the other. They really should remember the COVID protocols in that sense when they're communicating. But yeah, for Ten Hag, like he's I think I don't want to say found out because that suggests he doesn't have any talent as a coach, and he clearly does. We've seen that with Ajax, with how he did with them. But whether he has the managerial chops to negotiate it, I don't know.
Yeah, if anything has been found out, it's Ten Hag finding out that this is not just a football gig where he has to kind of clean out what they're doing on the field, and it's not a problem that he can fix during practice, where he makes people run the lack of running they did like during the game by punishment and stuff like that, canceling their days off and things like that, where I think especially at a level like that. I mean, this is like, well, you're a coaching guy, so let's get your take on this, because I know like Jamie, for example, on our Discord channel has been pretty vocal about this. And part of me disagrees where it's part of a discipline thing and every team does it, like the whole famous thing about them doing the push-ups in practice and stuff like that. I mean, I think every team does something like that. You play 7v7, the loser does this. Is part of the inner team banter and stuff like that. So I can get that. But something like doing what he did, canceling practice, making them run the difference of what they run against what Brentford did on Saturday. At this level, do you think that still is effective and works? Or there are guys in there, especially more experienced guys, it might work for Elanga and be like, yeah, see, we got to run during the game. Or maybe I should not give the ball back really quickly like a ball boy to take him a throw in or something like that. That's one thing he should be trained on. But do experienced players like, I don't know, like Rashford and stuff like that look at that and be like, this is kind of pathetic? Or are they really like, yeah, I really got to run next week?
No, I think it's the first one, and we kind of know that a little bit as Liverpool fans if we followed Benitez's career post Liverpool and the press that surrounded him and all the articles and all that, because the senior players aren't really impressed by that because that's a schoolboy move. It's a desperation move. It's I didn't have a clue how to fix a result against Brentford, so now I'm making you suffer for it on your day off because I didn't prepare better, which is really what it will come down to in the players' heads. Because as I think, I want to say it's Harry Redknapp, though I hate to give Harry Redknapp any credit whatsoever, but I think it was him that said once that players will blame literally every single thing before they look into themselves for negative results, and the first thing they'll do is they'll blame the coach almost all the time. So if he had put together like a statistical package with game film and diagrams and charts showing them the difference between Brentford's work rate and United's work rate, that might have had impact because that's part of their normal training week, I'd imagine, that where they have game film, they have analysis about post-match analysis about the game. But saying we have a day off tomorrow, but now we don't. You're all coming in and I'm going to make you run. Almost every one of those players has played on a schoolboys youth team, and that's probably what went right back into their heads of running up hills, running till you puke, and all the nonsense that they thought they got away from when they were 12. They're now having to do as senior professionals. So I think he probably lost a bit of the dressing room just for that alone. Like if it works out, people are going to go, that was fantastic bit of management. But I get the feeling if you remember Phil Brown with Hull City about 10 years ago doing his team talk on the field at half time, instead of letting the players go in, I think it was Hull. I want to say it was Hull City. And he did his team talk on the field. Jimmy Bullard was on the team then. And a few months later, they scored a goal and Jimmy Bullard gets all the players around and he sit down for the goal celebration and he's wagging his finger at them like Phil Brown did. And bit of a laugh and all that, but they got relegated, I believe, that season. And probably that was part of it because once Phil Brown humiliated them in front of the crowd at half time, that was it. Nothing he ever said was going to make any sense to the players. They weren't going to listen to them. So I feel there might be a little bit of that with Ten Hag, with the senior players for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I say, the initial thing that came out about, like that was in the preseason, I think, like doing the push-ups and stuff like that. Like I said, that happens with any team. It's kind of almost like the comedy of the practice. It is what it is. That one was fine. But when you hear this, and speaking of Jamie, man, Jamie's like an early riser now, huh? He says through no fault of his own, he could lose the dressing room very soon. Whether it's Ronaldo, his punishment seems to the players were too good for this. Damned if he does, damned if he don't. And I think that's exactly a good point. And I think that's what Ten Hag's ordeal is. But in some ways, I mean, maybe he's like, I don't even care about this, dressing room. Like, because I want 80% of this dressing room gone anyway. As long as the guys who I'm bringing on board keep staying with me. But I think that's the challenge over there now because, you signed your new center back and you brought him in as, this is the type of player I want. You yank him at halftime because he's my height and he's playing center back in the Premier League. Still gives me hope, Macca. You never know. Can get a call one of these days. There's a lot of injuries. Every time there was an injury this weekend for a center back being out, I was like, make sure the phone sound is on. You never know.
No,
but
I have my goal is hanging off the door handle, ready to go. I have them hanging off the door handle. And
Just
they're
call. Just
molded
make
as well.
that call.
They're not even the screw-in studs. They're the moldies.
So I mean, that's the thing. You yank him down. So that was my initial thought. Like you can use. He might not care about who's in the locker room right now, if he has them or not. He's trying to build something. You're with me or you're not. All the new guys will be with me. I thought that was really odd that he would do that to one of his new guys. And I know he had to make some kind of a change, but why take the guy out that you just brought on for some good freaking money and make it look like you're the issue with some of the defensive stuff, which, yeah, I realize, he gave like an easy header, but it's not like, the guy got shorter when he came to the Premier League. This is what you got. This is what you knew you were getting. So I feel like when you lose a guy like that, it's 10 times worse because it's one of the new guys that you're trying to build with.
Oh no, completely. That's what it is. And even towards the relationship you have with that player that you previously had, they're going to blame you for that. They're going to blame you for the embarrassment of being taken off at half time. But I've also an extra theory of it, which ties in with Liverpool as well. What's his name? Is it Martinez? I can never remember. He has frosted tips on his hair. Salah has frosted tips on his hair. Firmino, frosted tips on his hair. All these players getting frosted tips in their hair are playing like crap. They should get rid of it. That's it. You'll watch it. Watch it. That's my theory. That's all these players that got frosted tips. Rubbish.
Okay, so I got something to watch for this weekend's game now. Just see performance of the frosted.
We'll see it. We'll see it next Monday. Yeah, frosted tips versus frosted tips.
You know what? We have BJ Becketis on board as our stats guy, so maybe I don't know if he can dig out frosted tip stats for tomorrow's show and see what we can come up with for that.
But yeah, no, it looks a little bit to the other players, the players that were there before, like, well, you backed this defender and now you're unbacking him very, very pointedly. So why should we trust you for the next transfer, or the next transfer, or the next transfer after that? And I would almost always think if it wasn't for the heart cardiac arrest thing, they might have also eyed Eriksen suspiciously as well, because he's an older player, and that doesn't really fit in with the vision that Erik Ten Hag came in with United, which is of this vibrant, forward-pressing, all-out attack Dutch-style side. And here's a 40-year-old with a heart problem as the hub of our midfield. How's about that then, folks?
Yeah, that gives me hope as well. Speaking of, Alan says, wish I could get frosted tips. Yeah, you just preaching to the choir over here, Alan. Maybe we can do like frosted tips on like a beard or something. I'm
just going to get a wig. I'm just going to get a wig and frosted tips on that.
That could be a show. Hey, let's do this right now. If Liverpool win the title, we do a show in wigs.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
I'll wear it for a week if they're going to win the title. Should I wear it for a month? Whatever it takes. I mean, it's not like we don't need it, so why the hell not? Well, Mecca, you go get another cup of whatever the heck you're drinking this morning.
I'm doing a big cup of editing this morning.
Yes, there's a lot of editing to do with the Premier League show that we recorded last night. Obviously, we did the podcast last night as well,
which everybody should like and subscribe to.
Yes, see, there we go. Here you go. Speaking of a beard, this guy knows a beard. He says, trust me, frosting a beard is trial by fire. Well, Chris can't say this because he is hardcore Irish, so he already has a beard that's on fire naturally.
It depends which beard.
Oh, okay, well, that's a good note to end the show. Well, thanks everybody. Yes, like Mecca said, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can have access to all the shows, support the cause, and support all the costs we're gonna get for frosting these beards and all that wigs. There's a lot of expenses over here. So, well, take care, everybody. See you guys tomorrow morning.